Today I wanted to talk about bird food and also as it relates to individuals being sick, or rather a sick bird. And I know it's kind of a peculiar topic to discuss, but it's something that's personal in my own life that I wanted to talk about, and maybe in hopes that someone else can relate, and just for a listening ear. When I speak about bird food, I speak about individuals that use certain things in an abusive way. We see how people have this range amount of, some have very little, then others have a wide range amount of bird items. You know, they have bird houses in the house, bird houses outside the house, and they do decorative things pertaining to birds and stuff. And I know that seems normal. I know that seems like something that many people overlook. But that being one, but if you've been an individual, if you are an individual that has been abused and stuff, and the certain things that these abusers use, or that the spirit of that individual within that individual uses, you would notice certain things that seems kind of off. And I kind of touched on this in one of my videos called the Jezebel and Delilah spirit, but I believe I left out the one of the things that people pertaining or have that particular spirit or any form of spirit within themselves has, because spirits do like certain things and items just as well. Some people who carry those foul spirits are aware, and some are not aware. But be aware of those individuals who are aware of the spirits that they have, but they choose to keep them. And they know how to control them around certain individuals. But another item that I tend to notice is with bird houses. And not just with that, but the metaphor, the simile, and the analogy of it as well. You notice how when people who have bird houses and stuff, their main purpose in filling the bird feeders is to always keep the birds coming back, which they do. You have the particular kind of food for that bird, and the bird, without considering or thinking, why am I coming back to this point? Why do I keep coming back to this? When they can fly off somewhere else, but they keep coming back to that same particular spot because of what's in the bird feeders. And we don't know, or the birds don't know, what's being done to that bird food. It can be something harmful for them, but but they don't know. There's just something that that they are familiar with, and they keep coming back to. The same way with people who abuse certain individuals, they will buy certain things. And sometimes this can be oblivious to the person who's being abused until a light goes off and you like, oh my God. It's kind of like you're in a gerbil inside one of those Ferris wheels, keep going around and keep going around and around. But one particular thing that I've noticed is that as it pertains to food, because I'll go off into the part as it relates to sickness in a moment, but as it pertains to food, they will buy certain items, and you're thinking that they're buying them because it's something that they enjoy. No, they have no particular taste. They have no taste. If you notice, they're buying something that they're buying items that you like. For instance, like if you decide to buy your own food rather than eating the food of that particular person's whom you have no choice with staying with at the time because you have nowhere to go, or you're trying to get out, but you just have to do what you got to do at the meantime quietly until you're able to get out. But if you notice, if you're buying your own food, if you notice the things that you buy, whether you hide them or have them out in plain sight, either or, you notice that they will go right back out, and you will notice they will come in with the same items that you bought. They will try to mimic the items that you buy. One is to, personally, as I believe, to make you think and feel that you're trying to be like them, or they're trying to mimic your identity, your taste, your style, through food. Another reason for them that I believe that they do that is because of the subtle setup that you had throughout your life from these individuals, and the underhanded things that they've done, to where they try to get you to depend on them, but you don't want to. And as many people as you try to tell about the abuse, they believe the abuser rather than believe you. So it kind of leaves your hands kind of tied up a bit on trying to get out quicker. It just takes a little bit longer, but you're still trying to get out. But with these abusers, one of the other reasons that they buy certain items that are just like yours is because that they want you to, it's kind of like they're teasing you and taunting you with your own identity, and that they want you to want what they have or need what they have, when what they have is just really something that they're mimicking off of you. And if by chance you do go into the items only because you probably don't have any money or something, or you're trying to save and you're hungry or something like that, which is understandable, and they will have a fit about it in an indirect kind of way, more so an indirect than direct way, or they'll do things or say things loudly to where you can hear them. And I wanted to talk about that because that's exactly the way it is. And for a long time, I thought the particular certain individuals that I'm speaking of, I thought for a long time that, that they loved birdhouses because that was some form of activity or thing that they loved about God's nature, but that is far from the truth. I've come to notice and realize, and this is my own personal belief, that they have all these birdhouses, and beware of individuals who have an excessive amount of birdhouses, who have a tendency of caring for animals more than they do for human beings, their loved ones. They say they care, but they don't. They just do it, and the person whom they are abusing, they do it in subtle ways. And the person who's being abused see these things, and you're crying out on the inside saying, hey, does anybody see this? And the sad part about it all is that some people do see it, but they turn their head and choose to walk away. And those who don't see it, in some kind of twisted way, they have some kind of desire. They want to find something bad about you. So it's easy for them to cling to the lie. When they cling to the lie, it's like, oh, yeah, I knew it. It's not that they knew it. They just wanted to find something bad about you. And that's sad in itself, because that's something twisted off in them. But for a long time, I thought that people having these excessive amounts, the people that I'm speaking of that had these excessive amounts of birdhouses, it's not that they enjoy having birdhouses or enjoying the things of God. It's that it reminds them in some kind of way in how they see you and how they have you. They're trapped. And how they have you ensnared or entrapped, or try to have you ensnared or trapped. They see you as a bird. They see you as something that they can keep and something that they can throw away and reel in at any time. And I know it's discouraging, but it's not that you enjoy that kind of behavior and that abuse. It's that your love blinded you to it. My love blinded me to it. And that's the other sick part of it. People like that use love. They use the innocence of a child, people's love, to pretend that they have it, to get that love, and manipulate it and to deceive the individual and things. So that can be kind of all contorted and chaotic at the same time. But yes, animate objects. I'll use that word. They use animate objects, things around their homes and stuff. And you think that they're so lovely, but they're kind of like prized possessions and stuff. Not the one or two things, but if they have an excessive amount of it. Now, once again, the individuals that I'm speaking of, they have an arranged excess amount of birdhouses. Birdhouses in the washroom, birdhouses in the living room, birdhouses outside, hanging on a tree and stuff. And it's kind of like, I wouldn't say spread out, but it's kind of like in viewpoint, to where the person whom they're abusing can see it. So wherever that person that they're abusing, no matter where they go, it's like something that they ingrained in them from their childhood, saying that you can never get away from me, and everything that I've done to you, nobody will ever find out. I can always do this to you and never get caught. And they believe this about God as well. God doesn't see. So when I use birdhouses, that's how it is. When people see birdhouses, that's all they see. They don't see the abuse of the animal. They don't see the abuse as in not letting that particular animal go free. All they see are birdhouses, saying, "Oh, that's sweet. The bird is getting fed," or that's sweet how they take care of this certain animal and stuff, but not knowing the abuse that's being done to that animal and seen, and but more so unseen ways. Now, when I talk about sickness, I using this, how these abusers use, how the abusers use sickness in a way to rally more flying monkeys and stuff. And I know we hear this all out throughout from other individuals and things, but once again, I'm speaking from my own personal experience and stuff. A certain individual that I'm speaking of uses sickness constantly, for various reasons. One, to rally flying monkeys. Two, to cover up all the lies and stuff that this certain individual has said and spoken about. Three, to attack, to abuse, to make me look bad as an individual and try to make the lies that were said about me all the more believable. And, when an individual gets sick, and if you love them, the first thing or the first response is you want to take care of them. You want to meet their needs. But if you've been one of those individuals who've been abused your majority of your whole life, and there comes a point where you have to stop. And especially when the lights come on and you get up and God gives you a revelation, and you have to pull yourself away and stop being a covering, or rather enabler for these individuals. Not that you were trying to be an enabler. What you thought you were being was loving, caring, respectful, and loyal. but they used it in a way to where it formed a label on you as an enabler. You weren't trying to be an enabler, but that's just how it came to being, unawares. And but when they use sickness as a weapon, they also use it in a way to make you look bad because you refuse to care for them. You refuse to pity them, feel sorry for them, because you know the real them, who they really are, and they don't like it. And so they figure like the more attacks they give you, the more pain they give you, the more people and the things that you unseen, uncaused, unnecessary troubles in your life, that you would be amazed at, like, whoa, I did not realize this came from this direction. I didn't realize this was said about me. Just to, in some twisted way, thinking that all of that will cause you to break and come back to them, break and comply with their needs and feel and take care of them. And sometimes I have to admit there's a small part of you that do, because you get tired with the fight. But there's a stronger part in you that's like, no, I've come too far. And how can you, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, how can you say you love God and Jesus, whom you have not seen, but hate your brother whom you see daily? And there's a lot of people going around using love and up under in a fraudulent way, and underneath all of that is hate, is a scornful, smoldering hate. And it's scary, especially when you see it up close in front, the real deal of it all. So these individuals use sickness as a form of a weapon to get people to feel sorry for them, to get people to believe their lies, especially if they're seasoned in age. And that's even sadder in itself, because people look so much on the outward appearance rather than what's on the inside. But that's how society, that's how the world is. There's scripture that reads in Proverbs 23, verse 6 through 8. Eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye, neither desire thou his dainty meats. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. The morsel which thou hast eaten, thou shalt vomit up, and lose thy sweet words. That scripture within itself is so true, because though it can affect you physically, it really affects you spiritually, because it's you see their outward appearance as in it looks loving, it looks sweet, it looks like honey. But it's not. It's more, the real of it all is hate. I want to kill you. Despisement. I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to crush you. Yes, I'm going to make you think that it's of God. I'm going to try to put on a character that's like God. But I don't really want God. I'm just using God as a disguise, transforming myself into an angel of light so that I can wound you, that I can bite you like the serpent that I am. That is their way of thinking, or at least part of it. I'm speaking on this, I'm talking about this as well as many other topics to come, because this is my voice. Because what I think, what I feel, what I say, and what I do matters to God, to Jesus, as well as many of you who speak on certain topics, voicing things as it relates to you, your life, your situation. Regardless if anyone listens or chooses to listen or not, it still matters. In 2 Samuel chapter 13, it speaks of Amnon and Tamar. And I mentioned this scripture before in another video, but I want to bring it back up again because it uses sickness and food. I'm going to talk about the scripture, but I'm not going to read the scripture in its entirety. I'll have it in the description box below, where if any of you choose to, you can go back and read it for yourselves. Amnon was the brother of Absalom and Tamar, King David's children. And Amnon had a strong, deep desire for his sister Tamar, or rather an impure desire for her, to where he pretended to be sick. He used sickness as a weapon to ensnare his sister Tamar. And apparently his sister can cook. So he pretended to be sick and had his father deceitfully using his father, King David, to have his sister to come and cook for him. So he was using food as well, pretending that he wanted something to eat to get better, but he had another agenda in the matter. So his sister Tamar came, prepared a meal before him, and as she was cooking, she brought the meal. When she was done preparing the meal, she brought the meal to her brother Amnon, and rather than eat the food, he ended up raping her. He wasn't never sick. He wasn't never hungry. He didn't need any medicines to get better. He did and plotted all of that just to get some sick pleasure fulfilled within himself, while defiling her, and then afterwards dismissing her and sending her away in shame and disgrace. In closing, with these two scriptures in mind, Psalm 144 verse 11. Rid me and deliver me from the hand of strange children, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. Their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. For me personally, meaning that everything that looks well intended, that looks good, isn't always good, or in how the world or other people may say, all that glitters isn't gold. And every smile is not an actual smile. It can be something deceitful up under all of that. A good deed in a fraudulent disguise. Psalm 124 verse 7. Our soul is escaped as a bird out of the snare of the fowlers. The snare is broken, and we are escaped. 2020, Happy New Year.